All right, welcome everyone. You are in the right place for the webinar today, Feed Your Potential, 3 Ways that Fathom helps businesses thrive. We'll get started in just a few minutes here. We'll just allow a few minutes for more folks to join, so hold tight. All right, it looks like we've got a full room and we're right at the hour mark, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for Feed Your Potential, 3 Ways that Fathom helps businesses thrive. We're so excited to have you here today. And throughout our session, we're going to be guiding you through the unique features and functions of Fathom that make our platform so valuable for businesses of all shapes and sizes. To illustrate what makes Fathom so impactful, we'll be sharing examples of how real businesses have harnessed the power of Fathom to reach their next level of success. And we'll also provide an inside view of how you can do the same. So from here, we're going to launch a quick poll to get a feel for our audience today and who is joining us. So please take a moment to fill that out. We'll leave it up for a minute or two here. All right. And we really appreciate the feedback, fairly straightforward. Um, okay. All right. Great. I think we can probably close that out. Perfect. And I see some familiar names in our attendee list today. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Rowan Eister, and I head up marketing and partnerships for Fathom's US team. It is my pleasure to welcome you all and to introduce you to our hosts for today's session. Shale Heidinger, she is a senior account manager here at Fathom, and Josh Guerrero, customer engagement specialist here at Fathom, both total Fathom experts who have gone through the platform front to back and probably answered all kinds of crazy questions about it. So throughout our session today, please feel free to send your questions to us via the Q&A down at the bottom of Zoom. I will be addressing those questions as they roll in. And then toward the end of our session today, we will also have some dedicated time for more live Q&A with Josh and Shale. We encourage you to stick around through that live Q&A section. But if you have to step away early from today's session, don't worry, we will be sending everyone a recording of this webinar. And without any further ado, I will let Shale and Josh take it from here.
Awesome. Thanks for that introduction, Rowan. As mentioned, my name is Shale. I'm joined by engagement specialist Josh.
Hi, everyone.
Enough about us. Let's get started. So what is Fathom? Fathom is a business intelligence tool helping businesses understand their financial data, make decisions, and plan for the future. Fathom does this by integrating directly with your source accounting system and turns accounting data into insightful dashboards, forecasts, and reports. A little bit more about Fathom. We are trusted by over 50,000 orgs across the world. A top-rated app for QBO and Xero is a go-to financial add-on, and we partner with leading advisors and SMBs globally. We are a multi-product platform, meaning we have analysis, presentation tools, forecasting, reporting, consolidations, and more. All right. Our mission. To put simply, our mission is to help businesses thrive. We give confidence and clarity to the brave people who stand behind every business. Today, just to give you a little bit of lay of the land, for the next half hour, we're going to be talking about 3 key ways Fathom can help businesses thrive this morning. We will also show you some of the main features of Fathom and how they work together to help your firm or your business. We will be covering 3 main pillars in today's webinar: understand, decide, and communicate. First, understand. We will walk you through how Fathom helps you understand your business's key metrics and track those KPIs that matter most. We will also go through the analysis tools to get in-depth insights on your numbers. Next, decide. We will then move into how Fathom helps you confidently make decisions for the future using the forecasting tool to plan for your most important milestones and understand every possible scenario. Finally, communicate. Perhaps the most crucial element of it all, especially if you are an advisor or a CFO, is understanding how Fathom helps you take business performance to the next level and how you can communicate that insight clearly to key stakeholders or business owners with tools that allow you to create more engaging reports faster than ever before. So let's dive into our first pillar, understanding your performance. So one of the key challenges for businesses is getting visibility and insight on performance. How can we move forward and make decisions without a deep understanding of where the financials stand and how the current trends are in place? First, we have to understand how the business is currently performing. And to do this, we need to get a clear picture of the underlying results and what they tell us about the fundamentals of the business. Oops, I might have gone one too far. For many business owners or managers, seeing the numbers themselves isn't enough. People process information much better when it's presented in a visual format that tells a story. So let's cover how Fathom can help businesses understand their performance by measuring the metrics that matter and understanding the tools to analyze the key drivers in the business, such as profitability and cash flow. I'll pass it over to Josh.
Awesome. Thanks, Shale. Let me send my screen up here. So it looks like I've just logged into Fathom, and we're going to be walking through just kind of briefly and showing you how this can help you keep track of your business's performance. And we'll be working in this Gray Sky coffee roasting company that we made up. The first thing I like to talk about is how Fathom can help you track KPIs. As Shale mentioned, Fathom's a great tool for visualizing your performance and looking at key metrics and key ratios. And Fathom does this by tracking over 50 default financial KPIs. So these are important financial metrics, things like total revenue, activity ratio. Down here, I'm looking at free cash flow. These are numbers that aren't located directly on your financial statements, but they're really important to keep track of. And so you can select easily KPIs just by clicking them on or off. And even if they're off, they're still getting tracked behind the scenes. Now, if you need to track anything that's not located right here on our default KPIs, Fathom also allows you to keep track of custom KPIs or even stuff that's not located on your chart of accounts. I've got a couple of options. If I go in here to create KPIs, you can see that here we can track non-financials. So if we're generating reports or wanting to look at numbers, we may want to keep track of something like, say, the number of employees we have at our location as well, and compare that to our performance. We can really quickly generate a non-financial KPI here by just giving it a name. In this case, we're going to look at number of employees. We'll call it headcount. And I'll just quickly create this. There's a couple of settings we're going to jump right past. And now that we've created our KPI, it's time to input the data. Now, I've gone ahead and pulled out some numbers for my imaginary coffee shop's KPIs and for their headcount. So I'm just going to import those very quickly from a document that I've already set up. That's right here. It's going to show up somewhere. We can find that right here. Let's open that document. Yeah. Perfect. And get that imported. And I think it's going to block it. But once we've got it set up, we can then come in here and create a new KPI to track our headcount against revenue. So right now we've got our headcount data in. We can easily create a formula KPI as well. We'll call this one revenue per employee. So we're going to track how much money we make compared to the number of employees. We can quickly generate this KPI. And then we have a really helpful formula builder. So I can find any account, any metric from my chart of accounts or anything that I've put into Fathom. In this case, first we'll find revenue. And then we'll divide revenue by that headcount data that we've plugged in previously. So here's our revenue per headcount. We can then create the KPI. And now Fathom's going to be tracking this based on the headcount data that I've inputted into the system. Once we've selected our metrics, though, really the most important thing is looking at how Fathom can kind of present the data. So I'm going to jump into our analysis tools, and we can actually take a visual look at our performance here. Fathom has a suite of analysis tools. You can see them located on the left side here. I'm just going to touch on some of the key ones, and we'll start here by looking at our KPIs. You can see all of the KPIs that we're tracking. Let's say total revenue or gross profit margin. You can see our actual performance for this period, and you can see what we set as our target. And I can even drill down and see a great view of our historical performance. So this is what our gross profit margin has looked like over the last year or so. Now, KPIs are just one way that Fathom's helping you visualize your data. We can also take a look at other stuff like, say, profitability. In this case, Fathom is charting our fixed costs and expenses, our variable costs, and then our revenue. And we can easily find our break-even point. In this case, it's at 227 revenue, and then we actually sit above that. And we can get a visual idea of, okay, if we get more revenue, we'll start making drastically more profit. And we can even drill down and get some extra information, like figuring out why are our expenses so high? We can see these are our top 10 expense accounts, and here's our top 10 revenue accounts. In this case, we only have 4. There's one other tool I like to show off just because I think it's a great way to visualize data, and Fathom can really help you get a better understanding of your numbers, and that's through cash flow. Now, I'm sure most of you have seen a cash flow statement, but to a lot of us that aren't really financial professionals, and even those of us who may be, it looks like a lot of numbers, and it's hard to get an idea of what it actually means for our business. Fathom's version of the cash flow statement, though, is designed to be super readable. We can easily see here, green bars represent cash inflows, red bars represent cash outflows, and the bigger the bar, the more money involved. And so at a glance, I can see most of our money is coming from revenue, but we've got a lot of this change in retained earnings and other equity, and you can see where the cost of sales and the expenses come out. And so even if I don't really understand what a cash flow statement or how it's calculated, or I don't want to spend all the time sort of digging through it, I can at a glance get great insights into our performance. Now, there's a lot more tools, and if you want to check them out, there's a lot of other resources, but I think I'm going to pass it back over to Shale here, and we can hear a little bit about how other folks have utilized these tools as well.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you so much, Josh, for that demonstration. It really helps bring to life what those visuals can look like and how we might better engage our clients or our business investors using those. Don't just take our word for it. Listen to those who are using the product to transform their business. We've got our first testimonial here, just about how that is a really great way to kind of engage board members, partners, and it kind of tells the story of what those numbers are saying. So good to look at what other people are finding out. Let's go into our next testimonial. Fathom is an invaluable analysis package, which I use regularly with clients to monitor and track business performance and non-financial KPIs, exactly what Josh was just showing. Reports are flexible, visually effective, interactive, and great for sharing directly with clients. Online reporting alone allows us to dig deeper and understand what is happening behind those figures. So as you can see, our customer base is using Fathom multifunctionally to really wow their clients. 3 key takeaways from this testimonial are using Fathom with your clients, not just for them, tracking the key performance indicators that matter most, and digging deeper into the story behind the numbers. Luckily, Fathom covers all of those bases in a very visually appealing way. So now that we got that out of the way, let's dive into our second pillar, which is making decisions confidently. Once you have a grasp on how the business is currently performing and what has happened historically, you're in a much better position to make decisions for the future. Let's walk through some micro forecasts, business roadmaps, and scenarios to help you make those decisions confidently when you use Fathom. All righty. So the next step is we're going to create a forecast that gives you a baseline understanding of what will happen or likely happen in the next 12 or 24 months. This gives you a reasonable prediction of what will play out if there are no major changes in the business from its current state. So how does it work? Fathom allows you to create a baseline forecast like this in just minutes. We'll show you that. With a quick start, forecasting is based on a 3-way, 3-year forecast model that gives deep insights to the future so you can take the guesswork out of your financial trajectory. It allows you to create fast and accurate business plans, change numbers or projections quickly, to understand the impacts of different scenarios playing out, and to give you the ability to give in-depth detail or explanation to stakeholders. Once the baseline is in place, then you're ready to really start utilizing your forecast as a strategic tool for business planning and decision-making. You can start using the innovative forecasting tools in Fathom to build a live model that you can align with your business plans to create seamless forecasting and planning processes that kind of ties everything together. The proprietary features. We have 3 proprietary features of forecasting that really make it unique. We will showcase micro forecasts and business roadmaps, as well as scenarios. First, a little bit of backstory or context. We have our micro forecasts. You can use the micro forecast wizard to quickly plan for the future by creating mini business events. These can be things like hiring a new staff member, purchasing an asset, taking out a loan, any kind of business event that you want to play out that isn't coming in from your chart of accounts or your GL. Your business roadmap will allow you to quickly visualize how the timing of business events impacts financial performance with different timelines. You can easily change the timing of individual micro forecasts events to optimize strategic business planning, and then see the implications of those decisions to optimize them accordingly, all by a simple drag and drop. Lastly, Fathom scenarios allow you to create multiple futures of your business. Scenarios allow you to plan for every possibility, including best and worst case scenarios, and you can group different micro forecasts to your baseline forecasts and see those results without impacting the integrity of the forecast data. You can easily integrate all of these elements into your reports, and doing so will allow you to take the guesswork out of that future and easily understand where your business might be headed in various circumstances. So now that I've said all of that, let's bring it to life.
Awesome. I will take over here again, and we can walk through especially some of those proprietary features that Shale mentioned that really make Fathom forecasting a special tool for sort of planning for the future. So I've just connected here, and you can see this is my main forecast. I've got all of my accounts from my chart of accounts that I imported set up. We can even customize how each individual account is projected. They're tied in together with the balance sheet and the cash flow statement. So as Shale said, all three of these things are tied together. We're doing a full three-way forecast. But once we've spent some time customizing this forecast, or even just used our quick start forecast to get it ready to go, we can jump over here to the left and see some of these tools, the scenarios, the micro forecasts, and the roadmap. And I want to start here with the micro forecast. So most people like to build out a forecast so they can figure out if they can, say, afford to hire somebody or afford to buy a new truck. And we can really make that easy to visualize. First, we're going to generate a micro forecast. You can see here, we've already created a couple micro forecasts. I've got a loan, buying a new truck, or a couple of kinds of employees. But we're going to show you how you can make a micro forecast and how easy it is. We'll hire a new employee. And then when I jump into the micro forecast builder, I'm presented with a couple of options. Now we can manually add our accounts if we want to build out a super specific customized micro forecast, but we actually have some really convenient setup wizards that will do a lot of the heavy lifting building these out for us. In this case, since we're hiring an employee, we'll select that hire an employee wizard, and it'll ask us a couple of questions. We're going to make this a full-time employee. We're going to pay them $45,000 a year. And then we're going to pay them out of our salaries and wages account. Next, we've got some customization options that we're just going to jump past because we don't really need to worry about them. And Fathom's already done almost all of the work for us. You can see here my salaries and wages account showing up every single month into the future, the income tax expenses automatically calculated based on the tax rates I set, the impact on cash on hand, the tax liability, all of this stuff is ready to go. Now I can add on new accounts as well. If we think this particular employee is going to be really skilled and they're going to draw in a crowd, we can model out an increase in sales as well. So I can just add a new account and say after the first month, they'll give us an extra 5,000 or so. And we can play around with these customization options. I can project this into the future. So we'll say that they'll continue to increase our sales. And so we can model that out. But once we're done and we've spent a little bit of time customizing this, so we think that this is exactly how the micro forecast will affect everything, we can exit out and then we can turn it on or off. So you can see here my main forecast at the very bottom. You can see our cash on hand line, which is always what we want to look at when we're looking into the future. I can then find that hire a new employee micro forecast, a new employee, and then I can flip the switch. This is what it looks like when we're hiring the employee. This is what it looks like when we don't hire the employee. And so at a glance, just at a click of a button, I can see the impact that this decision has. And you can see here what would happen if I create multiple micro forecasts. We can then come up with a plan for the whole next year or the next 2 to 3 years. And the best way to work on that is using the next tool. That's our business roadmap. And this is a way to visualize every decision that we're looking at. We still have the cash on hand line showing up at the bottom, so we can see the impact of each of these decisions, but we can now visualize what those would look like. So you can see here, this is us taking out that new loan. Here's these asset purchases that we've modeled out, a new delivery truck and a new espresso machine, a couple of other kinds of employees, and even a web marketing campaign that we modeled out as well. I can flip these on or off. So we're going to turn on that hiring a new employee, and we can even adjust the timing. So maybe we don't think we'll be able to hire this employee this month in March. We're going to drag that out, and I can drop that in June. And you can see that directly impacts that cash line. I have the ability to do that with each different micro forecast that we have on here. And you can see that they're all kind of visually separated by categories I've set for them as well. You know, asset purchases showing up here, and then the revenue campaigns at the bottom. And so you can see how easy it is, as long as we've created these micro forecasts, to play around with the timing and say, we think this will happen then, and quickly get at a glance an idea of how that will impact our cash position every single month moving forward. Now, these really tie in together at the very end when we utilize that final tool, and that's our scenarios. And this is how we save and look at different combinations. I can head over here to scenarios and I can create a new one. So we have our baseline forecast that we've been working off. That's what we think is likely to happen. That's our main goal for our micro forecasts. But if I go to create a new scenario, we can see with certainty kind of what other decisions we may want to model out. I can play with different combinations of micro forecasts without losing the timing that we've set up on our baseline forecast. And we can also create what we call configurations. In this case, let's call this scenario our best case scenario. And so we're going to model that out. If I add a configuration here, we can say an increase in revenue. So we're thinking it's going to be a good month or a good year for our coffee. And so we're going to model out, let's be optimistic and say a 5% increase in revenue. And then we can create the scenario. And you can see here, this is the roadmap for the new scenario. This is our main grid for the new scenario, but we can very quickly swap back to our main grid and see what the numbers look like without that increase in revenue. And so I don't have to spend a lot of time going in and individually editing each account. I can create these micro forecasts, move them around, and it becomes an incredibly sort of visual and really easy way to play around with our plan for the future. With that, I think, again, we'll pass it back to Shale and hear how some other folks have played around with this tool as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. I'm going to pop back into one of our testimonials. This is by Stephen Robinson. Fathom does a great job of bringing together reporting and strategic cash flow forecasting. It allows for simple, easy to read and visual report, which works well for anyone wanting to view their numbers in a different format. When this is combined with the cash flow forecasting engine, it delivers everything needed from a strategic product. I think we had a typo in there. One thing I know for sure after 2 years of unpredictability with these COVID times is we could all use a little more stability and certainty. So let's dive into our next pillar. This is our last one, and this is communicate. Once you're able to get an in-depth understanding of your business performance and the forecast to make key decisions, it is crucial to be able to communicate your performance and your plans to other stakeholders or business owners, either internally or externally. Fathom's customized reports allow you to create engaging and insightful packages for your clients that help tell the story of a business performance. Whether you're sending a monthly report to your management or executive team, your company's investors, or an advisor sending reports to your client, it is crucial to be able to share your business's results in a clear, compelling way. Fathom reports allow you to combine text, charts, and tables to create management reports that are both robust but also easy to understand. You can tailor reports to specific clients by adding either images or logos to really wow your clients. Once you've created your report, you can easily save it as a template and use next month or with another company. It becomes quite scalable in that way. And to really put things on autopilot, you can schedule your reports to create each month without you having to lift a finger. So Josh is going to take us through how reporting helps you communicate more effectively and really automate some of those processes that save your business time.
Awesome. Yeah. So Fathom's Report Center is incredibly valuable to communication with others or just for visualizing your data on a more scheduled level as well. As Shale mentioned, I've just connected to our Report Center, and you can see here when I connect, I have a couple of options. I've got drafted reports, published reports, and then custom templates and predefined templates. And Fathom allows you to play with different ways of setting up the reports and then generating them and saving a lot of time. I'm going to start with our templates because this is how most folks will utilize Fathom's Report Center. We actually have a couple of predefined templates here that are available for everybody. If you started a Fathom account right after this, you'll be able to utilize one of these reports. And so I'm just going to be opening up a monthly performance report, and I want to show you what this report looks like with my financial data. And keep in mind, I did not have to go in and set any charts. I didn't have to create anything. Fathom has this template ready for me to go, and you can make a report just like this one for your business very quickly. Now, we started out with the Fathom logo. If you have your own firm or company logo, we can replace that. But you can see here, as we scroll through, we're looking at in important metrics. We're looking at revenue. We can quickly see whether we're doing better or worse than last month. We've got some of our key ratios. And even though we're not doing that great, we've got that thumbs down. It gives us some strategies to improve. These are text elements that Fathom's automatically generating. You'll also see Fathom's including some of our KPIs. Here we're visualizing all of our KPIs and we're looking good. They're all on track. We've got these nice green boxes that tell us everything is hitting target. And we even have our KPIs with some harder numbers presented as well. Now, as we go through, you may want to be sharing this with others. Fathom has some excellent tools that allow you to use these not just to present, but to communicate as well. As I hover over a chart here, you can see this little bubble appear, and I can leave a comment for anybody else who's viewing this report within Fathom. In this case, we're looking at our budget and we're seeing, even though we're doing pretty well, we might not be hitting budget. If we leave a comment, we can say something like, hey, Dan, maybe we want to adjust our budget. If we can spell. And so this will show up for others who are looking to view the report in the future. Now, as we scroll through, you can see our profitability shows up. We've got our cash flow that shows up as well. There's quite a bit of depth to this particular report. But if there's something you'd like to add, there's a lot of pieces available that we can put in as well. So we'll exit the preview mode. And on the left side, I've got what we call the content library. There are a ton of pieces that I can very quickly add into this report that'll be based on our financial data. So in this case, if I go to look at charts, I've got about a dozen different revenue charts available to us. Here we can see maybe we want to look at our revenue compared to last year. So I'm going to drag in this chart and drop it, and then it's already populated. You can see here's our revenue for this year, and it's even showing last year. And you can customize these charts as much as you want. Maybe instead of looking at the current financial year, we want to look at the last 12 months. And so we can see what that would look like. And I've quickly customized my table. And then once I'm done, I can save this as part of the template later on. Now, as we scroll through, you'll see there is quite a bit that's included in this template, perhaps too much. We can easily remove pieces. We can add pieces in and save stuff. At the bottom, I even have a nice glossary to show all of my KPIs if I'd like. But once you've spent some time customizing a report within Fathom, we can exit out. I can save this. I can download it as a PDF. But where you're going to really sort of elevate your reporting is when we then, again, save this as a template. So we'll make a new template and we'll call this our webinar template since we're in a webinar right now. And then next month, I don't want to spend an hour or so customizing it and adding in charts and changing the ranges on my table. I just want to make the exact same report. So what we can do is then automate this process. I can head over to the schedule section within Fathom's Report Center. I can create a schedule and then I can select that template. And next month, it's going to use next month's data because we're connecting automatically with your source accounting software. But that same report using the newer data will automatically be generated, and we're going to save a ton of time. We can even share these templates across multiple companies if you have multiple companies using Fathom as well. Now, there's one last piece I'd like to show you here. We just looked at a template, but if you spend some time, you can create a lot better looking reports. And I've pulled up a templated report that we've generated here for a furniture company called Jartan. Now you can see we've actually spent a bit more time. We inputted some visuals. This report came directly out of Fathom, and it's a template that I can use for this company. And if you put in the time, you can generate something just like this. We've got our basis of preparation showing up. We've even added some notes for management. And then you can see more KPI analysis for this particular company. It's actually a consolidation of many companies. Our KPIs, and this company's tracking a lot of different KPIs here. The break-even analysis for the organization shows up, and we're even showing the forecast. You can kind of combine in that business planning that we did in the second pillar and put that into this third pillar. So you can see this really great looking report modeling out our different scenarios in the forecast into the future, and then our financials broken down either by individual entities or as a whole. But with that, I think I'm going to pass it back to Shale. We can cover a little bit more of how other folks have utilized this reporting and what it's done for them, and then I think close off.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, I think that's really important to just kind of encapsulate how much time Fathom is really saving advisors and business owners just by automating some of those workflows and creating some of those reports that really capture the attention of their businesses or their investors, and bringing it all to life in a really quick way as well. So, and another testimonial, you can really see how Fathom has revolutionized Sean's practice by just saving him several hours a week and allowing him to actually take on more clients and scale his practice. So with that, I will actually pass it back to Rowan for next steps.
All right. Thanks so much, Josh and Shale, for taking us through that informative session. It's so great to see and to hear all the different ways that Fathom is impacting businesses around the world. And this was just really tip of the iceberg today. So if you like what you saw and you're ready to see how Fathom could work for you and your business, your clients' businesses, get started with a free 14-day trial of Fathom at fathomhq.com/sign up. And if questions come up along the way or there are things you're still wondering about, get in touch with our team of experts by emailing support@fathomhq.com. You can also level up your Fathom skills and show your clients your expertise in Fathom by taking our advisor certification course. This is going to be available within any Fathom account, so you can even get that started during your free trial. And from here, we're going to move into some of that promised Q&A. So please send us any questions via the Q&A section down at the bottom of Zoom. We had some great questions come through, and I did my best to type really fast and answer them. But we've still got some good ones remaining. And if we don't get to your specific question today, don't worry, we will follow up with you specifically. So to get started, let's just go with the first one here. So I'd like to add my team to Fathom. How many users can be added to a Fathom account, and can they have different levels of access? Shale or Josh, whoever wants to tackle that one.
Awesome. Yeah, I can get that. So Fathom there's no limit to the number of users you can have on a Fathom account, actually. Even if you have a single company on there, you could add 100 people on and they can all be viewing Fathom. And as the account owner or as an admin, when you invite somebody in, you actually have a lot of control over what they are able to do. There's 3 sort of base user levels. When you invite them in, you can invite them in as a viewer or a client, as an editor or advisor, or as an admin, and each sort of tier has different levels of permission. Obviously, a client or just a viewer, they're not able to mess with any numbers, they're just looking at reports, but you can kind of level them up if they need to do more work. On top of that, we actually have almost every single feature or tool within Fathom available on a sort of switchboard, so that when you invite a new user in, you don't just have to use one of those sort of baseline permission levels. You can say, I want them to be a viewer, but I also want them to be able to create a report or edit a report as well. And so you can get really specific with each person that you invite in, and as well as if you have any sort of multiple companies on the platform, you can actually control access to say they can view, company A and B, but not company C. So there's actually quite a bit of ability to customize the users and what they're able to do in the system.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. And we had a few great questions roll in about consolidations. So consolidating multiple financial files in a parent company scenario or a holding company scenario. So if you guys could talk a little bit about that, I think we can probably address a handful of those questions, but does Fathom do consolidations, and can we do them across various file types?
I think I can get this one as well. Yeah. So once you import a company into Fathom, it's a company in Fathom, whether it's from Excel or from QuickBooks Online or from Xero. I can, combine any sort of mix of those. So we can put together like 3 Xero companies and 2 QuickBooks companies into the same consolidation. It doesn't matter to Fathom's end. On top of that, when we create a consolidation, you have a lot of ability to customize sort of the eliminations. So obviously, when we're looking at combining a couple of entities together, together, you may need to be doing a couple of tweaks. Fathom makes a lot of that very easy by giving you the ability to eliminate accounts from that consolidations chart of accounts. And we even have some really cool ability to do multi-currency consolidation. So, if you've got a Canadian entity using Canadian dollars and you need to consolidate it with, an American entity or like a French entity that you're pulling from zero, then Fathom will be able to either use some default conversion rates, or you can even set custom conversion rates for your consolidation. So a lot of folks will utilize Fathom just to set up their consolidations because it's a really great way. And then on top of all of that, not only does it just consolidate their financials, we're then opening up the ability to use Fathom's suite of analysis tools and generate those really visual reports for our consolidated group, as well as the underlying entities.
Wonderful. Thanks, Josh. All right. And another question, if I can't figure something out in Fathom or find something in Fathom, where should I go?
Yeah, I can get that one. Great question. Lots of resources available. We have our little chat bubble in the bottom right-hand corner of our Fathom website that you can chat in at. You can also email, if I go back to the last slide, support@fathomhq.com. That is where our support team lives. They are real humans. It's not just a chatbot. So they will customize their answers specifically for you. Josh is available if you want to book a demonstration or some kind of onboarding training call before you sign up for an account. I'm an account manager. So once you have signed up for your account and you want to do some training sessions, whether that's one-on-one or team training, I work for Pacific Coast hours and then Central Time. We also have an East Coast account manager who is available to work East Coast hours for anybody who wants to set up same thing, team trainings, one-on-one sessions, as well as our certification program. So once you have either a trial or an account, you have the ability to complete certification. It is a modular course, so you could bite off as much or as little as you want in a day and come back to it. Once you do that, you kind of have the full breadth of the platform unlock, and you have a little LinkedIn badge that you can showcase to clients.
Yeah.
And that's a really great course. All of us here at Fathom have taken that course to kind of really understand the big picture of how Fathom works, all of its functionality, and the ability to really go back and kind of check answers or have that modular ability to dive into different sections at different times.
Awesome. Thanks, Shale. So yeah, lots of different ways to learn more about Fathom, and basically however you come to us, we will support you, whether you've got a Fathom account or you're just interested in learning more. All right, so let's jump into a couple more questions. There was a great one that came through during the webinar about tracking categories. That's probably more zero leaning terminology, classes, locations for those of you using QuickBooks. Can you guys talk a little bit about whether you can create KPIs using those tracking categories and what that process looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So the demo company that we were looking at doesn't have any tracking categories or classes or locations, as they'd be called, from QuickBooks because of where I sourced it from. But when we actually import those, and we do have the ability to import, I think up to 60 classes, locations, or tracking categories from your source accounting software. Once we pull those in and we go to create a custom KPI, we actually are then presented with an extra option that we didn't have when we were looking at them. So we looked at non-financial KPIs and we looked at formula KPIs, but then you'll also have the ability to add in what we call a tracking category, or excuse me, a tracking KPI, which lets you sort of zero in on a specific tracking category, class, or location within an account. So if you want to track the performance of your sales account, but you have it split out by 3 locations and you're just concerned with location 2, we can set up that tracking KPI for that location sales account, and then we can utilize that particular KPI in a formula as well. So we can look at, say, revenue per employee at just that location. So we do have the ability to utilize those when we're creating KPIs.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. All right, hard to choose. We've got a few more here. A great question about how template sharing works. If obviously various companies are going to have different chart of accounts. So can you guys talk a little bit about using those templates in Fathom and what that looks like?
Sure. I can touch on that one. Yeah.
Sure.
So when we're looking at templates, they are based on sort of the data that we pull in. I guess the way to explain it is that there was a section on the template that looks at KPIs. Obviously, each different company is going to have different KPIs, most likely. But what that particular table we were looking at was doing is just using all of that company's KPIs. So if we connect that template to a different company looking at different KPIs, it'll populate the KPIs for the new company. Same with the financial statements and our chart of accounts. They're going to be set up a little bit differently, obviously, but it's going to realize that. So the things that are going to stay the same are, the locations of the charts and the tables and sort of the specific layouts, but obviously the actual numbers will change and the chart of accounts are going to present differently. So when we were looking at our revenue year to year, revenue is going to be showing up in each individual company anyways. So changing of the chart of accounts won't affect the way that is calculated. It's going to be using different accounts and possibly slightly different locations, but as long as they're marked as revenue accounts within Fathom, which will be done typically automatically when you connect, most of that will still be able to very easily sort of auto-populate over into the next company when you connect a different template. I think that probably answers most of the questions there. It's a lot easier than you'd believe when we're sort of transferring a template over. That's sort of the short of it.
I love it. Thanks, Josh. All right. And I think we've got time for one more. Sherry said, I've been using Fathom for a few years, which is great. Thanks, Sherry. And thanks for joining us today. And have built out custom reporting. However, forecasting seems much more in-depth and I've had trouble figuring it all out. There's a lot to figure out there, so that's totally understandable. She's wondering, do you offer training sessions and or setup help? So I think this probably kind of falls in the account management side of things.
Yeah, awesome. I can touch on that one a little bit. Hi, Sherry. Thanks for using Fathom. You can absolutely get training sessions or setup help, either one. You have two options. You could either connect with an account manager, myself or Max, the East Coast account manager, and we would love to set up either a training session with just you or your team if you wanted to get more people teamed up for some training. We also have the ability to connect you with an outside advisor who we trust, who is Fathom certified and who is vetted by an account manager who we work closely with. A lot of what they would do that's different from us is they would help with the actual setup. It would be kind of more of a one-time off implementation help or guidance session, as to where with an account manager, we are responsible for ongoing training. So quarterly product update trainings or any kind of new hire trainings, anything like that. So definitely able to get you the help you need. It's just kind of more about what you're looking for, whether that is an ongoing training with somebody from Fathom or an outside advisor who uses Fathom very efficiently, who can kind of help implement, build out your Fathom processes, templates, forecasts, and then kind of allow you to be a little bit more hands-off with the training and run it yourself, but totally open to having that conversation with you. So let's connect after the webinar and we can get a little bit more into the details on that.
All right, perfect. And if we did not get to your question today, we will follow up with you personally via email. If you have any other questions or if you want to reach out to us right away, go ahead and email support@fathomhq.com. Again, that's going to be our expert team of support reps that are able to answer any of your product questions or connect you with someone else on our team that can set up a session with you. I saw some people kind of raise their hand to set up a demo or a session after this. So we will be reaching out to figure out all of those details. Thank you all once again for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to learn more about Fathom. We had a lot of fun during the session and I hope you found this webinar useful as well. A huge thank you to our wonderful hosts today, Shale and Josh. Great job. And we would love to hear from you all. So again, do not hesitate to reach out. If you're interested in getting started right now with a free trial of Fathom, go to fathomhq.com/sign up. And thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for coming.